sitting round. United takes his time. About to shack outside the game. And you know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls. I'm racing.
Sam Raimi directed the first 3 Evil Dead movies and the TV pilot in 2015. Till 2018 there were 30 half-an-hour episodes. For 1981 The Evil Dead and 1987 Evil Dead 2 see the same name reviews. Ash fell into a time tunnel at the end of part 2 and ended up in the American Middle Ages, so Europe in the 14th century. In 1992 Army of Darkness he gets into a fight between rival nobles, but is able to use modern technology to gain an advantage, and also just quickly crafts himself a new hand. In an old mill, a fight with many evil little Ashes leads to the formation of Evil Ash. Coming soon, Evil Ash 2, which from then on annoys the whole movie as the main antagonist. While trying to get back home with the Necronomicon by wrongly citing the words Klaatu Verata Nectu, an allusion to Klaatu Barada Necto from the 1951 science fiction classic The Day the World Stood Still, he unleashes the Army of Darkness. This foot-lame troop didn't even reconquer twice its $11 million budget worldwide and is considered a flop, but later marched through on video and has a large, loyal fan base. Since it was my first Evil Dead, which I was allowed to see legally in the cinema, the other 2 I got to see once with luck in a special screening, I had already months before for me an Army of Darkness t-shirt printed, with which I then drove alone, since no one seemed to be interested in watching it, to the almost empty showing. Army of Darkness follows more or less its predecessor, but not really. It often takes place in broad daylight and generally has a brighter, friendlier look. For that, even the coolest ending of all time, the one from Evil Dead 2, was changed for no reason at all, reshot in crappy. God, was I pissed off already in the first few minutes, and puts its focus way too much on the comedic aspect. Bruce Campbell acts here partially so silly and stupid that it is no longer funny anymore. The titular army looks cheap as hell and could not even then, despite practical effects, win any flowers with me. And I don't give a shit that it was super expensive and elaborate to make. Especially the final fight is way too long, how fake everything looks. Also, the few good scenes in the mill or on the graveyard look like they came from another, much better movie, which was probably not hijacked by Universal, who are once again responsible for the disaster for the purpose of fucking it up. Raimi really should have known better after Crime Wave and especially Darkman, also Universal, and which has proper opening credits, with Evil Dead 3 or at least the Medieval Dead in the title, and not Army of Snoreheads. That here in Germany, in the cinema more than 10 minutes were missing for some fucked up whatever release for babies, and I had to sit through the shitty mall happy end and not the one where Ash takes too much potion and wakes up 100 years too late after the apocalypse, really made it for me one of my worst cinema experiences. There are at least 4 official versions so far, but also a few unofficial ones. In all of them something is missing, is fudged with or simply changed. At the beginning, in the middle and at the end, with partially quality differences to the inserted scenes. A hopeless mess. I myself gave up after the 4th or 5th version. See also Brazil and Blade Runner, also with many different versions, which makes a real analysis practically impossible. I recommend, when it comes to the army of edits, the European Director's Cut, 96 minutes, to get a foot in the door. It is also a mystery to me why this silly bore always gets so easy off the hook by the army of wannabe experts. For me, this so-called franchise ended with part 2. The same goes for Alien, Terminator, Predator, and Hellraiser, after Evil Dead 2, the second movie poster that never left my wall for decades since my first own room. 2013 brought us with Evil Dead Fede Alvarez remake. 5 young people, 2 men and 3 women, meet at a cabin in the woods to help Mia to go through drug withdrawal. They find a mysterious book with the inscription Naturum Demonto, the Book of the Dead, and do what anyone who has read the script would immediately do first. They read some passages from it loud, which summons a demon appearing in the forest, and as usual takes possession of people to bring the titular Evil Death. Evil Dead remake made at estimated $15 to $17 million, nearly 100 million worldwide back, so financially a success, I guess. Here we have again a serious variation which is solidly made and well cast, but still can't hide the fact that we have seen the same already hundreds of times, some also better and more interesting. The attempt to add for no reason realism to a basically pointless story about 3 spirits with a stupid drug plot injected into the script fails all along the line, and the flood of CGI blood is then also the final evil death for this wannabe shocker. And again, lots of critics praised the alleged realism and dared to call this by the numbers flick a successful remake or refreshing of the genre. In the first season of Ash vs. the Evil Dead, 30 years after the events from the movies, without need or any apparent reason, Pothead Ash reads aloud from the Necronomicon, aka script, aka the Book of the Death, which of course is just openly lying around in his trailer, and the evil is back. Now a demonic plague threatens to destroy humanity, and only Ash is able to stop this threat. He gets support from his mall colleagues Kelly and especially shaman aspirant Pablo, whose shaman uncle, at least until his demise in episode 5, is supposed to help him better understand the evil book. In the process, they are chased by a female cop who joins them in the second half. Also after the book is Xena / Lucy Lawless herself, who at first claims to be a descendant of one of the victims from the first part, which, if I got it right, Evil Dead 2, to which most scenes refer to, had retconned, since this was a remake of part 1 and no continuation. In the first part, Ash was there with his girlfriend, his sister and 2 friends, and gets probably taken over by the evil at the end. In the second, the remake, only with his girlfriend, and he survives at the end. So why the hell include the first part in the plot at all? Ah, I see. To please everyone, which usually leads to pleasing no one. The quite popular multi-awarded winning series has a good cast. There's a lot of hectic action and the effects are okay for TV. It is not a bad series at all, but also not as good as some of Evil Brain Dead fans make it out to be. The nice oldie soundtrack is here, like everything opposite to subtle, often just flat out commenting on the scene. For example, we see Ash is a bad dad, Daddy Cool plays in the credits, so that even the last simpleton gets an aha experience. Actually quite suitable for today's audience, if I think about it again. Except for my viewers, of course. You are great. Both of you. Clips from the first 2 Evil Dead movies are sometimes shown. It doesn't really take itself seriously either and tries, often with force and moderate success, to be funny and cool. A lot of it feels like fan service. Be it settings, props, the shack, his ex, the hand from part 2 is back for a bit in season 1 but disappears and is never seen again. Also an updated mechanical replacement as in part 3, and of course an Evil Ash. Later also an Evil Ash 2. Storylines and whole scenes are partially repeated from the movies, just in worse. There are unnecessary backstories to everything, like where Ash actually headed in part 2. Who asked for that? The pre-discoverer of the book is actually a villain. Xena is now suddenly the author of the Necronomicon. Also gets retrofudged into the history of part 2. Characters constantly act out of character, like the female cop who out of nowhere takes over Linda's part as love interest, only to end up like her. so that Ash makes a deal with Xena, who promises to control the demons as a godmother whatsoever, gives her the book and retires to his bar. That doesn't last, of course, and in Season 2 Ash returns to his hometown, where his father is still angry because of the events of Part 1. One of the victims in this version was Ash's sister. With his new friends and now good Xena, I guess, they try unsuccessfully to stop demons from using the spellbook to summon a chief demon, which gets lost to them. They throw it into another dimension at its suggestion and manifests itself on Pablo from now on. This chief demon is supposed to be especially dangerous and practically invincible because he has the unusual gift to take inconspicuously possession of people. So the same as all demons. After a time travel to bring that Pablo back to life, Ash manages to undo some events from the movies. Although he doesn't show up there until 1982, but Part 1 is from 1981, or was that set in the future? Or is this only about Part 2, but then they are 5 years too early? Or maybe that one was set in the past? Whatever. Ash prevents his 80s self from finding the Necronomicon. In fact, the entire cabin disappears. And he's hailed as hero when he returns? For what? I thought he changed the course of time. And why are some of those killed by demons still dead? In the last season, someone reads from the book on local TV and they hunt demons again, because script says so. Ash meets his daughter, who annoys the whole season. She sees quite from the start her friend turn into a demon, killing her mother and getting stopped by her father. But she still pretends that he's just making up the demon hunt, for which, by the way, he is celebrated as a hero from the whole town. And of course she turns out to be the key to everything.
Yep, there's two of them now.
Ash even brings her back from the dead, has out of nowhere no desire to fight the final villain, but of course after a daughter motivation speech, sure. To somehow generate plot, she falls despite several warnings by everyone constantly for demons. And of course especially long for Necronomicon Xena. The Book of Fanboys author, the 80s version from the Back to the Future episode, now again the villain, wants to create a descendant of Ash to replace him. But this plan fails. With this season they have obviously given up completely on the story. They don't even shy away from friendly ghosts. This time the fan service goes even so far that a fan from the fan club of the Chosen One joins them. The so-called plot is only there to move from one effect/lame gag scene for the 1000th time to the next. Ash vs. the Evil Dead has the same weaknesses and a similar ending. Ash wakes up in an apocalyptic future as already Army of Darkness, only in worse. Ash and pals act dumber than the police allows, and he comes across more than once as overly arrogant, self-serving and downright pushy, which degrades him from the sympathetic tragic hero as in Part 2, who gets innocently drawn into the events, to the permanent smart-ass joke-tearing egoistical stupid fuck, who constantly puts people unnecessarily in danger. In one episode, uninvolved people, even a child, die because he wants to bounce a bill. Bruce Campbell himself is very good, as usual, and often the only thing that makes this stuff remotely bearable. But the script is, once again, crap. Least of the gags work. And since I'm not a fan of silly puns or a TV CGI fest, it comes off like the final commercializing of an idea that lived 35 years ago, mainly by its originality. But after I had to experience how Raimi joined up with Disney and buried in his Wizard of Oz abomination every kind of joy and magic under tons of CGI and stupid casting decisions, and on top of that simply rewrote and used his weakest script, the Army of Darkness one, and still got away with it, nothing surprises me. But more about that in the Sam Raimi retrospective Darkman. In 2023, Lee Cronin's Evil Dead Rise seemingly has no connection to its predecessors and is set in a barely inhabited apartment complex in LA that is about to be demolished. With that said, the introductory forest cabin scenes in which a possessed woman kills her two companions don't take place until the next day. Here, pregnant Beth visits her single-parenting older sister Ellie. An earthquake uncovers access to a hidden room, where the children find old records featuring familiar 80s hits like The Demon Summoning Rap and, of course, The Book of the Dead. Now possessed Ellie kills several neighbors. Two of her children also die. After the final fight in the garage, Beth is able to escape with the youngest daughter. And it turns out, who would have thought that, the woman from the opening sequence also lives in the house. What a twist. The project, which was realized as a TV movie, got a theatrical release at short notice and hijacked the Salem Slot remake slot, which then, similar to my already prepared review, was pushed to the future. Thanks for that, assets. Evil Dead Wife, it's basically all about women or motherhood in general, has with estimated $50 million a similar budget to its predecessor. In the introductory sequence, the guy gets quickly disposed of, which also applies to the neighbors. And even the boy, which of course also summons the demon, is played by a so-called transgender. Evil Dead TV, like the 2013 one, again has a serious tone and a more than lame, completely predictable story. But is with the main demon Ellie better cast, the children are completely out of place. The talkative reference parade can also at no time keep up with the originals. Dialogues and scenes are partially shamelessly stolen even from other movies, just in worse. Of course, intelligently quoted, and comes more across like infantile fan fiction. In the introduction of Sebastian Wanicek's Evil Dead Burn from 2026, Joseph studies in a house by a lake his grandfather's notes on the Necronomicon, the Deadites and the Dagger of Kanda, which can be used to destroy them. His discovery attracts the Deadite Jessica, who deliberately allows herself to be run over by his drunk brother following an argument with wife Alice in order to possess him. After the funeral, everyone hangs out together because script at the lake house. The story also involves a restaurant that Alice ran with her husband, and Jessica, in search of the Kanda dagger, gradually takes possession of the family members who are mainly targeting the unloved Alice. Evil Dead 6 received mixed reviews and with a budget of $20 million in its first week has already grossed $30 million worldwide. Another sequel, Evil Dead Whatever, has already been announced for 2028. Just like in the previous movies, this one is once again all about some stupid women. This time Alice, the evil mother-in-law, and Jessica, who I couldn't care less about. And men are, as usual, incompetent, weak, cowards, gay, or outright villains. Alice Mann was, of course, a tyrannical asshole. He also is the final boss. In Evil Dead Family, just like in Lee Cronin's other unwatchable chick trash The Mummy, we directed the last chick Evil Dead and co-produced this one and the next, there are absolutely no coherent rules. People, precisely Alice's new relatives who already hate her anyway, transform however and only to the extent the script needs at the moment. To simulate artificial drama and a story for which the film practically pauses sometimes. To deliver it Explanator 5000 style in a blunt, simplistic manner. Many of the disgusting scenes here also just come across as mean-spirited and are presumably meant to shock. What's truly shocking, however, is once again the utterly uninteresting soap opera style family drama plot which revolves around the far too serious, much like the addiction-related subplot from 2013 and completely out of place theme of domestic violence against women, accompanied from by far the crappiest soundtrack, which doesn't even shy away from hip-hop trash. And the fact that this, at nearly 2 hours, which felt like 4, is yet another way too long, obviously run-of-the-mill streaming product that has been released in theaters, which, aside from the name and a few settings and props pathetically cobbled together from the previous movies, has absolutely nothing to do with Evil Dead anymore. In the final, which shamelessly rips off several films here, most notably Terminator, Alice manages to destroy the final Deadite, aka her ex, before the rescue team arrives at sunrise. In a post-credit scene, because Evil Dead, just like Marvel assembly line trash, constantly needs some tact on scenes, it turns out that the still possessed grandmother has escaped from the house and infected a driver. In another one, which makes absolutely no sense, a little girl looks at the unclaimed urn of Ellie Bixler, the possessed woman from Evil Dead Rise, before she appears and kills her.